Have you ever been stressed out about what you're going to wear, like the outfit that you're going to put on? Some people like every day, like didn't know what I was going to wear here today, right now. And like, I'm afraid everyone is judging me right now. What about your hair? You ever been like stressed about your hair? Dude, no, I'm never stressed about mine. I just wake up like this, dude. But, you know, y'all are mad. Okay, it's okay. Look, we can't all be perfect, but we try. Have you ever changed anything about yourself to try to fit in better? Like maybe there's even something you're doing right now that, like, if it was up to you, you probably wouldn't do. But because it's more socially acceptable, you're currently even doing. I know I certainly have. I'm going to tell you a little something about me, okay? I've always loved metal music, like the hardcore stuff, the heavy, like where the guy is screaming at you the whole time. Like that's just been my vibe, like ever since I was a little kid, because that's the environment that I grew up in. My parents like listened to hard rock and stuff, and so that's all I really knew. I was wearing like all black. I was wearing like the tiny little jeans, you know, that came from the women's section because they didn't make them. These are loose, dude. What are you talking about? These are like baggy leg right now, dude. You're mad. Anyway, I was into tattoos and piercings, and that's just kind of like who I was. Like in high school, I had my lip pierced, I had my eyebrow pierced, I had little gauges and everything, and that was it. But in high school, I also wanted to fit in so badly and be accepted by a certain group. This group was kind of like, we called them like the preppy people at the time. They were like the athletes and the cheerleaders, and you know, they were popular and they had money and stuff. I wasn't none of that, right? I didn't have any money for sure, but I wanted to fit in with them so bad. I started to dress like them, and I love showing y'all pictures of me in high school. Okay, so here are some, and this is what I looked like. Okay. Abercrombie and Fitch was big at the time. The mirror selfie, that was taken out of church, out of youth group. I had to step out of youth group, and then I went back to youth group, and I was like, I'm posting that to MySpace later, for sure. This is me at prom. I wore sunglasses to prom, like just because the friend group was like, yo, we should wear sunglasses to prom. And I was like, yeah. No, we all had them. It's just they weren't wearing them in the picture. I was like extra cool at the time. So this is what, okay, we can take that down. It's horrible. This is what I actually looked like on the weekends. So like on the weekends, I would play in this band, and I would get to wear like my band T-shirts in black, and I had like a bandana. I don't know. It was a different vibe, but I wasn't gonna wear that at school where like the popular people saw me. I was like living two separate lives. Like it was two parts of me, but it wasn't just my clothes though. Like I would change who I was around certain people, like a chameleon. Have you ever done that? Like whenever you're around certain people, you kind of talk different, or you use different words. Maybe some people use a little more colorful language than you would at church, for example. Maybe how you talk about people is different when you're around certain people. That was the case for me, man. This group of friends at the time would just rag on people who had less than, just making fun of them behind their back, talking trash about what they looked like what they smelled like, all that stuff, just being really mean to people. And then I was a good Christian boy, okay, going to youth group, playing in my worship band, loving Jesus, doing my Bible studies and stuff. But when I was around them, I was like, yeah, they suck, they're trash. I would just rag people, like, and then I had this tension in me all the time. I wonder if some of y'all feel that, where it's like, there's the person that you are, there's the person that you want to be, and then there's the person that you kind of act like in different circumstances and situations. I'll put it to you like this. Maybe this story will help if you can relate. There was this girl in high school. No, she was a friend of mine. Okay, that's it. Nothing happened. She was a friend. You can't prove it. She was a friend, and she was that person who was in that different social group than the friends that I was trying to be friends with. She was the one that everyone made fun of. But since she was a friend of mine, I promised her I would dance with her at prom. So we went to that prom, and I said, I will give you one dance at prom. This girl wasn't even going to go to prom. She came to prom because I told her I would dance with her and give her one dance, and so she pulled up. Okay. I avoided her the whole night. But, hold on. Because I didn't want to, anyway, she confronts me. Because she's just standing on the wall, the whole night. She confronts me, and she's like, at this point, kind of agitated because it's been a while. And she's like, hey, are you going to give me that dance that you promised me, or are you just going to keep being a jerk all night? She didn't say jerk either. And I said, I guess I'm just going to keep being a jerk all night. That girl, and remember, it's because she was labeled as a weird person, and all of my popular friends were there and they were watching. That girl, I watched her after that exchange run out of prom crying, and I went on that night to win prom king. I know. What a douchebag, right? What a jerk. Y'all, you hate that version of me, right? But if I can say, just out of vulnerability and honesty, I'm not playing the victim here at all, but I was so lost and confused and broken and bad at the time. I wanted to be liked by everybody so bad that this was the two worlds colliding, and you can't have them both. I had to make a choice, and I think at that moment I chose the wrong thing. I chose superficiality, artificiality over something like a meaningful actual friendship that I lost that we've never spoken again since, right? It's terrible. And it's because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be loved. There were parts of my life where I didn't feel loved. When I went home at night, I didn't always feel loved. I didn't always feel liked around my own siblings and stuff. And I was always trying to prove that I was good enough. I think God puts these desires in us to be met by Him. They're not necessarily bad. To want to be loved, that's not a bad thing. To want to be liked, to want to be accepted, to want to be included, these are not bad things, but the lengths that we will go to earn or to gain that acceptance, that inclusion, that's when those things can be bad, obviously, as demonstrated through my story. But this kind of trying all the time to achieve this acceptance, it can be exhausting. You have to know all of the relevant songs and trends and artists and the news all of the time. You have to know the brands and the styles all of the time. You have to know when and where you can say what and who's talking to who. And God, it's there's so many dynamics. If you mess it up, you look like a freaking idiot. So you just end up not saying anything because you're so scared. And it's just crushing, dude. It's a miserable existence. And it never feels like enough. It never feels like you'll ever achieve it. As much as you achieve, you still feel like you're falling short. And I hate that. I hate that for anyone who's feeling that way. I hate it for the old me, because that's where all of this was rooted. It was rooted in shame and insecurity that could have been met through my Heavenly Father, but it wasn't. I didn't know how. So that's what I'm going to try to help us with today. So if you have your Bible, we're going to be in the book of Matthew. Bible app also works too. In the book of Matthew, chapter 11, go ahead and get there. Basically, Matthew was documenting Jesus' life and his earthly ministry. And he watched Jesus go about and do his thing. And these people who lived life with the Son of God and the Savior of the world, they would know if he was really the real deal or not because they watched him all day, every day. They lived life together. And this is a person who says, this is God in human form. And he writes down the things that Jesus said. And so he wrote this, and we can read it today in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Jesus says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens. Because the people at the time, they were feeling exhausted also, trying to keep up, but it was a little bit different, obviously. Like they didn't have Snapchat and TikTok. But they had these religious expectations pressed on them that says you had to follow about 613 laws to try to be holy, to be accepted and loved by God. It was like if you didn't do these things, God wasn't even going to love you. It was conditional love. Like if you wore clothes that were the wrong fabric, if your hair wasn't done the right way. Like imagine that. We go to school and we're worried that someone's not going to accept us because of something like clothes or hair or whatever. But imagine God, like the creator of the universe not accepting you because your clothes or hair. That's pressure. That sucks, especially if you mess it up and you feel like God's mad at me because I said a bad word or something. So that's the weight and the burden that they were carrying at the time. Some of us are carrying that too, in addition to the social pressures that are on us. But he's saying, look, I know that life can be difficult. It stacks up then, it holds up now. You will have struggles. You will have fears. As long as there's been people, there have been fears. You will have insecurities. You will have goals, whether they are your own or whether they are put on you by somebody else, and you will feel like you're not measuring up. And the weight of that will be heavy. But this problem, it comes with a promise if you keep reading the verse. He says, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. It's a promise from God. It's a guarantee. There are no conditions. He's like, look, I'm right here. You don't have to do anything to earn it. It's a free gift. I will give you rest. I will give you rest. I hope you know that God is everywhere, obviously, but he's here in this place too. And he wants to provide this rest for you. If you're feeling a heavy weight and you're feeling something on your soul, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm here in this place on a Sunday morning, I almost never want to leave because I'm just happy. Like it feels lighter. It feels good. And I don't feel like you're judging me. I don't feel like, I mean, maybe you are, but I feel like I can be who I am. I can be myself. I feel loved and accepted. I hope you guys feel the same way, like toward each other. Like you don't have to be fake. You can be who you really are when you're in this place. Like if there's no place on the planet that you can really be that, be it here. We want to be that safe space for you. It's because Jesus is here and he promised that in his presence. A rest, a break from the heaviness. Can this be just like a weekly reset? Like a breath of fresh air every week? He continues on and he says this, take my yoke upon you. We're not talking about eggs, okay? Take my yoke upon you, let me teach you. If you don't know, a yoke is a way to kind of lock into oxen at the time, maybe cattle. They would lock them in together using this device called a yoke, and they would share the weight of the plow that they were pulling. Are you locked in with Jesus, or are you trying to pull the plow by yourself? See, because if you try to pull that weight alone, it's going to be really hard if you're not locked in with another person, right, who's helping you pull that weight. It's also going to be really hard if you're pulling in another direction and Jesus is like, no, we're trying to go this way. And you're trying to go that way. It's not going to work. It's also going to leave a mess behind you. Did you know that a study was done on Belgian draft horses? Belgian draft horses can pull about 8,000 pounds. I know those things are caked. He said it. They can pull about 8,000 pounds. So you would think that two of them in a yoke together could pull 16,000 pounds, right? That math is mathing. But that's not the case. Two of them can actually pull between 20 and 24,000 pounds, 3 times. Two doing the work of 3. That's the power of being locked in with Jesus. Like, it's incredible. And what I love about this like idea of pulling the plow of life with Jesus versus pulling it alone is whenever you look back behind you and see what you've done, see the work that you've done. Like if you're pulling that plow alone, your work's going to be slow. It might be messy. If you're trying to tug in a different direction and you're fighting the direction that Jesus wants for your life, it's going to be also the same deal, right? If you're locked in with him, one day you're going to look back and realize you've come a long way. You've done a lot of work, and that ground is fertile soil that seed can be planted in, that fruit can be born through. It can provide food and nourishment for the people in the community. You can do so much more with Jesus, with his people, with others than you ever could alone. And the best part is, it takes the load off of your shoulders. It takes the load off of your shoulders. So Jesus is saying, walk with me. You can't carry it. You can't do it, but we can. We can. Follow my teachings. Don't fight it. We can do so much more together. And Jesus finishes the statement like this in verse 29. He says, why? Because I am humble, which we talked about last week, and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Jesus is not trying to make your life harder. He's not trying to make your life more difficult. He's not trying to put more weight on you. He's not trying to put rules and regulations and restrictions on you. He's trying to take the weight off of your shoulders. That's why he died on the cross, saying like, hey, those heavy chains on your shoulders, I'm going to carry them so you don't have to. The mic died. I already have. And that's good news. That is the gospel. We're not talking about this. When I say rest, we're not talking about a good night's sleep either. I'm talking about rest for your soul. Like a deeper experience of peace and stillness and calm in a storm whenever the world is on fire, literally or metaphorically in your life. You can say that regardless of my circumstances, if people are rejecting me or accepting me, if people love me, if people hate me, if people are inconsistent and flaky as heck, God will never be. He never has been, and he won't start now. All right? That's the God we serve. That's what he wants for you. That's what he wants for your life. Peace, rest. That's the stuff we're talking about. I'll finish with this, another high school picture of me. There's a brand called Ed Hardy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but this is a brand that my friends wore in high school, those ones I was talking about earlier. It was kind of a status symbol because the t-shirts were like $200. And I was like, I can't afford a $200 t-shirt, but I'll show you the picture of me, my brother, and my mom on my senior trip. I was a senior in high school. We went to Philadelphia. This is a picture in front of the Liberty Bell. So here it is. And I got me an Ed Hardy shirt. All right? But check this out. I didn't pay for it. I stole it. I went to the mall and I risked it all to steal that shirt because I cared so much about fitting in that I was going to compromise my morals. And I knew that what I was doing was wrong. Got away with it. No, I don't still have it. I burned it, actually. I caught everything I stole on fire, but that's another story. Yeah. Yeah. And here's why. I wanted to keep up appearances so bad that it kind of became a perpetual thing. Like once I learned I could do it, and people would be like, oh, sick shirt, bro. And I was like, yeah, you know. And I liked that validation. I liked being accepted, and I liked fitting in for a change. It felt good. So I kept stealing until one day I got caught by the police in handcuffs. Yeah, not good. But by the grace of God, they let me go for free. They we're not going to put you in prison. Because I had stolen so much, it had ended up accruing the value of a felony charge or something at the time. It was crazy. That day, I felt like my lucky stars were on my side or something. I don't know. But I decided that day that I would never steal again, and I have never stolen again since. Anything. And that's when I disposed of all of the property that I had stolen, and I decided something else. I decided that who I am, how I am, is good enough. All right? And it might not be good enough for some people, but it's good enough for God, and that's good enough for me. That's what I decided. And I decided, if you don't like me because of how I look, then you're probably not somebody that I want to be friends with anyway, because who I am is more than how I look. And the same goes for all of you. And I know I'm saying that with big, giant holes in my ears right now. And I know that some people will meet me and say, ew. And that's okay. It's unfortunate because we could really be friends, and I love you, but, we miss those things. So don't be like that. Don't be like me in high school is basically what I'm saying. There's a better way. And if you're doing it, all I want to do today is free you up from this pressure, this weight. Because if how you're living and who you are isn't really who you are, like if you're just doing it to fit in or for whatever reason it is for you, I just want to free you from that. Because you're free to be who God made you to be. And that is good enough. It is. You are enough. I don't know if you've heard that lately. I don't know if you believe it now when I'm saying it. It's like, no, I'm still not good enough on the team. My grades still aren't good enough. I still haven't got accepted to this college. There's one girl still mad at me. I'm not good enough girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. His yoke is easy. His burden is light. I know life's heavy today. I know we got stuff going on. I know we're carrying weight. But you don't have to carry that weight alone. You don't. He carried it for you. He wants to carry it for you now. And we're here to help. Some of y'all don't know us yet. Keep coming around. Keep coming around. Keep leaning into God because he says, follow my teachings, right? It's hard to follow him if you don't know him. You got to get in his word. Like, you got to do it a little bit. It's not another thing to make you feel bad about yourself and make you feel like you're not doing enough. It's an encouragement to hop in. We do it together every day. And a YouVersion Bible plan is a little devotional. It takes 2 minutes. If you don't want to do that, if you want to do your own thing, read the Gospel of John. Read the book of Romans. Someone asked me last weekend, or this weekend, what if you were to read the Bible, where would you start? Not Genesis, okay? Don't start in the beginning. It's not a normal book. Read the book of John. Read the book of Romans. Do it with a person. Come to him and you will find rest for your soul. I promise. I don't just promise. Jesus promised.